Welcome back to the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike. Today I want to talk to you about the de-evolution of HazLab. It started out as a way to bring dream projects that are too big for retail, that would never exist in any other way, shape, form, and bring them to fans. Now, started out with Cell Barge, big Cell Barge. We're going to talk about that. It's turned into this. It's turned into what has to be a bundle project for it to even get done. We're going to talk about how we got here. And I made a video about Eternia yesterday, but with all these people coming out hating on the Eternia project, and I guess hating on people that are going to back it, I feel like I really have to talk more about this Eternia project also at the end. So we're going to talk about all of this and more coming up. Alright, so this all started at retail. The problem at retail was they could not move these large, higher priced items. This is back in 2010, 11, 12, something on those lines. The Legacy Collection was some of the best work that Hasbro's ever done with Star Wars. And they haven't really ever matched it again. Now, when you look at this, you say, okay, this Millennium Falcon was $130 at Walmart. Walmart exclusive, I believe. They also had, Walmart exclusive. And the thing about it was that it went on sale for $100. I passed. And then, turns out they went to the Garden Center for $35. And sold out pretty quick, but I didn't know they went to the Garden Center. I just thought, well, they sent them back, where'd they go? Nobody knew. Nobody in the toy aisle knew. None of the people that worked toy. So I missed this. I went and got me a used one. This thing was phenomenal. I was missing parts on it, but I still loved it. Fantastic. But then down the road, Toys R Us ended up picking it up, and they put it in the right box. So it was $250, but it was in the correct box, and I was sitting there thinking, man, it was $130 just 2 years ago. Now it's $250 at Toys R Us. And I'm sure there was way, way fewer quantities produced, but they already had the mold, so why not? So I was excited. I waited till they went on sale, but they had to clearance them out to $111 shipped online for no tax because it was out of state. It was good old days, you know. But I was super happy they got it. Fast forward to what's now just a few years ago. They put this same Falcon back out at Galaxy's Edge, added a couple of different figures and a different satellite and all that kind of stuff. But with this thing was $400. Now, this did not sell at retail very well. All the ones that I saw, well, I saw one get 4, and they held on to those 4 for almost a year till they went on sale. And I think it was actually like one of those 25 off 100, and then a percentage off, and a coupon, and you stacked them so you could get this $400 thing for like $250. That's when it finally sold. Most of these that sold online. It was almost an online exclusive because very few hit stores are the ones that did. Well, if you hit more than one, they sat. Similar story with this amazing AT-AT that was originally $100, great price point, but it still didn't sell very well. I bought one at $100, and when they went to $50, $49 at Walmart. I don't remember how many I bought. And then this MTT. Now, I was not interested in this at all. So for me personally, I was like, well, I don't care. But $130, $135, something along those lines when it originally came out. And then they clearanced it down to $35. That was the price I paid for mine. And with that, these big vehicles just don't sell at retail. So we kind of enter into HazLab. 2018, this was a $500 Katana Cell Barge. And the thing about it is that it's from my favorite movie, Return of the Jedi. It's my favorite of the trilogy. I love all the trilogy movies, but that one just a little bit more than the rest. And with this, it's something that in my mind would never ever get made. I would have never picked this to get made, but yet it's getting made. It's almost like a dream come true. I did a video of someone who bought one, a replica that was made in 1983 that was based off of the exact designs and scaled down to be a perfect scale. It would have been 7 foot for a perfect scale, not the 50 inches like this one, but it's still really good. They did a fantastic job on this. I love the one that I have, but a lot of people came out against this. Now, I was making videos. I even made a scale picture of the prototype and did comparison videos so you could see how big it was. People can get an idea. And I also was the one saying, if you pass on this for $500, you're going to be paying $2,000. Well, $1,500, $2,000, whatever. But still, if you pass on it, you're going to be paying way more on the secondary market because they just won't exist. And a lot of people still didn't understand the crowdfunding back then that kind of got burned on this by not backing it. There's absolutely zero way this would have ever been picked up by a retailer on Walmart or Target shelves, even if Amazon would have picked it up and said that they would take this as an exclusive. or even BBTS as exclusive, it would have been a logistics nightmare for them. And think about this. It's already hard enough to ship for Hasbro. Their challenges for shipping and getting these out was already a challenge. Imagine having to ship this to retailers and then have them get shipped out, but there's no retailer like a Target or Walmart that would carry this. So all of those that were saying, don't back this, it's too much. And I know Michael Fritz at Retro Blasting, I love his channel. I love a lot of what he says. I didn't agree with him on this point. Because if all of us jumped on board with the don't back this wouldn't exist. This would just be a pipe dream, and we would just talk about, you remember that thing that said HazLab? It doesn't exist. The thing about this is there's zero chance, not even 1/100% of a chance that this thing would have been picked up in any other venue other than the HazLab, unless a third-party company decided to make it and charge $1,000 for it. Next up, we want to talk about Unicron. This was a $600 massive beast of a project. Now, again, not the biggest thing that ever could have get made, but when you look at the size of the box and how it shipped and all this kind of stuff, it's really hard to decide that they could have gone any bigger than that. Now, this thing was actually sort of worth the value just for the Unicron. When people talk about the Unicron, they never say any of the add-ons or the unlocked tiers. You know, I really like those little guys they included. I think that's really worth it. Can somebody sell me those for $250? Nobody's saying that. What people are saying is, I got to pony up $1,500 for this guy instead of the $600. Now that I waited and I passed on it. So looking at this, would this thing exist today had they not crowdfunded it? If it didn't fund? Well, guess what? It didn't fund. Truthfully, this didn't fund. This had to get an extension for a month. And then almost no backers for like 3.5 weeks, and then once they finally showed it at some sort of convention, SDCC or something like that, that's when they just started shooting up, and this thing finally funded, and I'm glad it did. This thing should have actually funded on the size and merit alone, and none of the unlocks had anything to do with it. Once people actually got to see it in person, they had to get it. And that sort of changed, that shifted HazLab in a way. Because very few people really saw the katana in person and spread that out. A lot of people were just looking at pictures. With this, it took a lot of people seeing it in person to get it to finally get backed. Next up, we get into the Sentinel, another massive project. And I didn't back this. I didn't follow it too close. I've got a couple of videos about it. But the thing about it was I wasn't 100% following it daily because I wasn't backing this one. I'm not really a Marvel collector. But I was impressed by the size and the scale, and it was one of those things that if I was in on this, I would be super excited for it. But the Sentinel actually backed like crazy because most of my collector friends say they need 3 Sentinels for whatever reason for their display. That blows my mind, this gigantic, ginormous figure. And it stands on its own for the price. The price of this guy was, I have to look it up, $350 for this guy, but it stands on his, well, okay, his knee problem, whatever, stands on his own for the price. The unlocked tiers don't even matter. I really can't even explain what they are, but to tell you the truth, people wanted the Sentinel, basically 3 of them. I saw the box at a secondhand shop. It's huge, and there's no way that would have been at retail. Next up, we have Galactus, which obviously funded very well, and the Marvel community, the Marvel team at Hasbro was probably riding pretty high on how well their Marvel HazLabs did. And looking at this is huge. This is massive. So I kind of got schooled by one of my local friends on this. Now I went to see his phenomenal collection, by the way. I was blown away by his collection. But Galactus caught my eye. He had a Galactus, not the HazLab, some sort of Build-A-Figure from years back. And I'm like, who's this big dude? And that big dude is nothing compared to what this is. I think it was a Build-A-Figure, and it was about 12, 14 inches tall. Something like this is like 20, 30, I don't know, 32 inches tall. And so with that, these unlocks don't really even matter, but a lot of people really like the unlocks, the tiers on this. But this isn't like the Sentinel that you'd want to have 3 in your display. There's only really one Galactus. The only reason you back a few is to sell them. But this stands on merit for size alone and for the fact that the collectors felt the value of the price of $400 in this one. $50 more than the Sentinel. So into the Rancor, who I felt this thing was a bit undersized. And that's just my opinion on it. But still, for a Black Series Star Wars, this was not as big as I would think it should be to be a Black Series Rancor going up against, the 1/12th scale figures. So this one is the first one where size wasn't big enough. You can kind of sort of see a human back there. I think that's Patrick, so you can see a human back there. And so with this, you really can't tell that it's worth $350 on its own. Let me double check. Did they really want $350? I think they wanted $350 for this thing. And so that really wasn't worth the value. To me, a Star Wars collector, the only reason I even collect toys is because of Star Wars. And so with this, I would have been in on it for a much, much smaller price. But the unlocked tiers were kind of sorry. There was some bag of bones in a backdrop or something. And then these two things. Another, like we don't have a Jedi Luke, like we don't have a Salacious Crumb. So this is when they started repacking stuff that we already had, slightly different, to put in here. And then they were finally going to give us, once it was failing, they're finally going to give us a Rancor Keeper. A Rancor Keeper? A Rancor without a Rancor Keeper made no sense. And all they did is throw together a picture of a Rancor Keeper. So this was a sad day, but it didn't fun. But I got to tell you right now that at the very end of this project, I actually backed it. I wasn't going to back it, but I was on the fence because they were going to give us this Rancor Keeper. But you know what? Now they're going to give us that Return of the Jedi Luke in the main line. Because this failed, they've already got the actual Luke ready to go, so they're going to put it out. So that starts to tell you some key points that we're going to need to pay attention to for this current HazLab. Now, Cookie Monster didn't even really have a chance. Let's be honest. There was not enough of a market for this. The truth is, if they would have picked a different character, like Elmo maybe, there's a possibility, but I don't know. I wouldn't have been in on it. I followed it, and I was like, I just don't understand this. I don't get it. Why is this a HazLab? But it failed. And the $500 Riva lightsaber failed. And the thing about this is, HazLab is a place for dream projects. They're a de-evolution of this. They are going backwards. Don't sell us something that we've already been buying in the store. Wait, they're about to do it again? Oh. Don't sell us something that we can already get in the store, like a lightsaber. We can get that at GameStop, and for a while you can get it at bookstores and stuff like that. I have over 12 lightsabers. I'm kind of burned out on buying them, so I get no excitement out of these. And now they want to sell you the same lightsaber with a little bit more electronics for almost twice the price. Well, in this case, triple the price. Now, this is where I see a solid de-evolutionary step with the HazLab, and that's the Razor Crest. Now, first of all, The Mandalorian was ridiculously, wildly popular, and I'm guessing the next season is going to be wildly popular also. People are loving the Andor for whatever reason, but I have to say that all of this stuff that they included with this was okay. It was kind of cool, but I felt that this should have been a retail release. It's much, much smaller than what we got with the Cell Barge, and it should have been a retail release. But again, vehicles don't sell well at retail, but this was a $350 item. $350, but that's because they only made they ended up making like 28,000 or something along those lines. They could have made 80, 100,000 of these and put them out at retail. So this is when Hasbro starts to kind of hurt us by having a HazLab and having to put this at HazLab. And then this becomes a bundle package to get it sold, to get it funded. So with that, you have to add up all of the little extras that are added in to make it worthwhile, a worthwhile purchase. But it's a serious disservice to not have this for children at retail, not have this for collectors at retail. And yeah, they had some sort of a Mission Fleet one. Nobody wants that. I'm not going to talk much about the Victory Saber, but this is different because of the fact that it's sort of outside of the norm. This is something that they're sort of testing the waters because they generally cater to the U.S. market. Hasbro's a U.S. company. HazLab generally takes care of the U.S. and Canada. And I don't want to lie about this. Sort of screw the rest of the world. That's the way they've been. That literally is how they've been. And so, I mean, that's a whole other topic for another day. And they're doing it even more with the Pulse situation. But looking at this, they were testing the U.S. market. is there interest in this because it was never really a US released kind of item. Turns out there was a lot of interest in it, and it seems like a pretty decent project. But 180 I felt was a bit too much for me. But again, I'm collecting the masterpiece versions of these, so it's apples and oranges. So now we get into the Sky Striker project. Now, I believe that this is where Hasbro or HazLab crossed a line of no return, a point of no return, into the Ultra Bundle Pack. I felt like a Sky Striker is worth about $100. A retail item that should be on the shelves for $100. Now, we've discussed even smaller vehicles don't always make it, but with this, I was heavily against this for the majority of the campaign. And I wasn't going to back it. I was going to speak with my wallet and all that kind of stuff. And I have a Sky Striker on my flag number 2 or 3. I have a Sky Striker on it. And I had a sealed Sky Striker from 2011 or something like that. And the problem is that there were already 6, and some people say 11 different iterations of the Sky Striker in the past. I didn't keep up with all that, so I don't really know a number. But I know that I have a Sky Striker already. And I'm like, this is not a dream project. It's not a dream project at all that you're getting a Sky Striker. Yeah, the wings work right. It looks a little bit better. But if you already have this is a slight upgrade. Why not make this a massive retail release? Or even this is something an Amazon could handle, right? Well, no. Let's HazLab it. And let's add a bunch of stuff to it. So this is where we're starting to turn to the dark side of HazLab. The value of this set was not really introduced until we got all of the add-on figures. And I don't think this picture even shows all the add-on figures with it. But the Cobra Commander, the Mickey Mouse Cobra Commander, is one of those things that I have 3 vintage Cobra Commanders, but none of them are the Mickey Mouse. I even have a straight arm that's not Mickey Mouse. So people are charging stupid money for an official one. So I'm like, yeah, why not get this knockoff Mickey Mouse Cobra Commander and for $230. So it's $230 for a knockoff Mickey Mouse Cobra Commander, and you get a free Sky Striker with it. So that's really what happened with this project. I believe that's how it crossed the finish line and finished so well because of the knockoff Mickey Mouse Cobra Commander. And now we get a nice accessory for him, a Sky Striker, right? So now we get into the ultimate bundled value. And this is the His Tank. So the His Tank was 300 even. So $299 plus shipping. So they added shipping this time. So this is the one that I was on the fence. I wasn't going to get it because of the $300 price point. For this right here, what you're seeing to me was not worth $300. It really was not worth $300. They did add on some tiers that I felt were okay and all that kind of stuff. And then we got another, like a figure, a tactician, and then we got a female His Tank driver, that kind of stuff. But what really pushed it over the edge, of course, was Cobra Commander again. Mickey Mouse Cobra Commander again. Now, I believe there's going to be a standard release of Cobra Commander for the main line, and it's going to look a lot like this, but it won't be a Mickey Mouse. So that's kind of what sets it special. The only way to get the retro Mickey Mouse version is going to be with this His Tank. But the His Tank itself wasn't worth the price, in my opinion, until they put out all of these extra figures. I think you're going to get 4 figures, which is $100 value, so that makes the His Tank a $250 tank. So now we get into this Ghost Rider, and I got to tell you, I really am not in on this. I don't care if it was $100. I wouldn't want to buy it. I'd wait for it to be $30 clearance, whatever, if it was $100. It's not for me. I do not care about this. But so many people do. So many people think it's really cool, and they want it, Ghost Rider, whatever. And so for that, I kind of understand, you want what you want. The heart wants what it wants. But for this project, the price, it's nowhere near worth $350. And with that, I gotta say that this should have been the horse, the bike, and the car, and all the 3 versions of Ghost Rider straight up, and that charge even more, charge $400. It would have backed like that. But a car and the Robbie Reyes, and one of my buddies said that they're testing the age limits here. Are they going to fund this one here? How young of a market do we have? So that's a theory that's out there, and I think it's kind of an interesting theory that's out there. But at the end of the day, it's still not the value. The value's still not there for most collectors, and that's why this thing is struggling. So they gave us a Robbie Reyes head. So they gave us some head that didn't work. that didn't really boost anything. Now, one of the problems was that there was going to be an earlier bird backer, Robbie Reyes, and we didn't get it. So now we just get to pop off the Ghost Rider head and pop on the Robbie Reyes head and his hoodie and all that kind of stuff. And that didn't really do anything. So they had to give us some other stuff. So they dangled this Mephisto, which I admit is a really cool looking figure, and I know nothing about the character at all. I actually just now learned how to properly spell Mephisto, and so that's interesting. And so with all of this, though, this is a character, a figure that I want to tell you, if this thing backs but doesn't unlock this, they have this thing ready to go to put out at retail so that you could buy 4, 5, 6 of them if you like that character that much. So it's one of those things, but if it backs and we unlock this tier, nobody's going to get this except for the backers, right? And then we get this Goblin Queen, which I admit the art on this female character is phenomenal. It's fantastic. And they said the only way they can release a figure such as this is through something like HazLab because of her skimpy outfit. But her skimpy outfit is way too much coverage. So when you look at this, it doesn't match the art. So there's something wrong there. Like, I don't know anything about this character, but I can tell you, I know I can look at one picture and I can look at another picture and say they don't match. So with all of that, I mean, maybe I can use that skeleton on my Dungeons & Dragons Fortress of Fangs playset. But at the end of the day, if this funds barely, but we don't unlock the $10,000 backer tier for her, she'll just be sold at retail. But the fact they had to throw these other tiers out and all this other stuff is proof that the car and the Robbie Reyes figure are not worth the $350. That's all there is to it, and they're struggling to get this funded, and we have de-evolved from dream projects to stuff that really just belongs at retail. So Mike, it's all your fault for supporting HazLab all this time, so it's all my fault, right? And now I support Eternia. And I've been getting a little bit of hate on that ever since the old Michael French video came out, and I've had a bunch of people jump over to my video and make some negative comments, which is fine. It's perfectly fine. You believe what you believe, and you like what you like. So I have a few things to say. First off, I respect Michael French at Retroblasting. He does a fantastic job, and his points are very valid, by the way. I wish I could get this thing for $300 or $350 or $399, and I was expecting $399, but at $550 plus a $50 service charge / shipping charge / whatever, $600 plus tax, so it's $650. Okay, so with that, that's at the top of my price point. Actually, it's a bit exceeding. $600 was my max to try to buy 3. So I don't know if I can swing 3. I don't know if I can swing 3. I might only be able to swing 2. But I'm going to get this. Now, I've spent 2 months trying to create space for this. Can I even create space for this? That's a big problem. And then on top of that, I started looking at vintage ones, and the cheapest I saw was $11.25 for one, still needing about another $1,000 to $1,500 to complete it. So is Mattel overcharging us for this? Possibly. But the problem is that they set the minimum to get in at $5,000, and that's much, much lower than even what Hasbro said with their HazLabs. And Hasbro's trying to push a lower price point, like $350, and doing smaller projects, but this thing is a big project, and it's going to take quite a bit of resources to produce this. But also, a lot of people believe it's already further along than most of the HazLab projects are at this point. I think the Grayskull actually killed playsets at retail. Now, if you want to get, say, a Snake Mountain, people want to get a Snake Mountain. I don't understand, because you can go get one off eBay for pretty cheap anyway. You can get a mostly complete one for under $100. So you want a complete one, you're looking at maybe $200 at most. Well, we need the Origins one. It needs to come out at $80. Well, guess what? Numbers are different at retail, and finances are different now. Inflation is kicking in. I don't see an $80 one at retail at all anymore. This was a really good deal when we had it, and now you can still get clearance deals, $20, $40, whatever. So catch yours on clearance, but I don't see playsets going forward at this price point anymore. And if we join together as a community and we all decide, do not back this, speak with your wallet, do not back, they're just not going to make it. It's not like they're going to go, okay, well, let's find another forum, another place. No, this is their plan to execute this. And I'm not siding with the company on this. I'm siding with the collector. If a collector wants this, buy it. If you want the Robbie Reyes and his $50 car, spend $350 on it, buy it. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. But don't come back in April or March, April, May, whenever it comes out in 2024, and be mad at anybody selling this thing for $1,500 or $2,000 because you passed on it. So HazLab is no longer what it once was. Dream projects are no longer what we get at HazLab. And I am in agreement. I agree that what's going on with Mattel Creations is going to be another de-evolution of Mattel Creations that we'll be talking about in 3 or 4 years. Like and subscribe. Titanium Hanger out.